Hello and welcome to today's video. Have you ever noticed your legs feeling a little weaker with each passing year? Climbing stairs gets harder, walking long distances feels more tiring, and sometimes even standing up from a chair takes more effort than it should. Most people shrug it off thinking, well, I'm just getting older. But what if I told you that aging isn't the real culprit? What if the real reason your legs are losing strength has been hiding in plain sight, on your plate? Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Ellis, a medical researcher with over 30 years of experience in human physiology and senior health. And today, I want to open your eyes to something that could completely change how you age, especially how strong and mobile you remain. You see, new research from leading institutions like Harvard Medical School and the Cleveland Clinic confirms a growing concern. The food we eat has a direct impact on muscle function, joint health, and mobility, especially after age 60. Some of the most common everyday foods are quietly chipping away at your leg strength, fueling inflammation, blocking nutrient absorption, and weakening the very muscles that keep you independent. In this video, I'll reveal 5 foods that may be secretly accelerating muscle loss and reducing your ability to move freely. But I won't stop there. I'll also show you what to eat instead to protect and rebuild your strength starting today. And here's the most important part. The information I'm about to share isn't theory. It's backed by science, patient case studies, and practical tips that have helped thousands of seniors regain strength, improve balance, and even reverse years of damage. So don't click away, because the last food on the list is one that nearly everyone eats, and it might be doing more harm than you realize. Your legs have carried you through life. Let's make sure they stay strong for the journey ahead. Stay with me until the end. You won't regret it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed your legs feeling heavy, weak, or cramping more often, especially at night or after meals? Most seniors blame it on aging. But what if I told you that a hidden ingredient in your everyday diet could be slowly sabotaging your muscles? That ingredient is processed sugar. Now, I know what many of you are thinking. I don't eat candy or drink soda, so I should be fine. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Today, sugar is added to over 70% of packaged foods, and it hides under dozens of names: high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, dextrose, cane juice, you name it. You'll find it not just in desserts, but in bread, ketchup, pasta sauce, cereal, and even your low-fat yogurt. Here's what sugar does in your body. Every time you eat it, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. This sets off a chain reaction. Your pancreas rushes to release insulin, which quickly drops your blood sugar levels, leaving you drained. Over time, these constant spikes and crashes wear down your muscles' energy systems, making you feel weak and fatigued, even when you're not doing anything strenuous. But the real danger goes deeper. Excess sugar causes chronic inflammation, which breaks down muscle tissue and weakens joints. It also blocks your body's absorption of magnesium and calcium, 2 minerals essential for muscle contraction and bone density. This can lead to leg cramps, stiffness, nerve dysfunction, and poor balance, issues many of my senior patients struggle with. Let me share a story. Mr. Harold, a 68-year-old retired engineer, came to me with complaints of worsening balance, nightly leg cramps, and muscle fatigue. He assumed it was just part of getting older. But when we reviewed his meals, we discovered his daily healthy breakfast, granola, fruit yogurt, and orange juice, contained over 35 grams of added sugar. That's more than the recommended entire day's limit. Once we switched him to plain Greek yogurt with berries, steel-cut oats, and green tea, the results were impressive. Within 3 weeks, his leg cramps reduced by half. In 2 months, he reported better energy and steadier walking. So, what can you do starting today? Swap sugary snacks with protein-rich options like hard-boiled eggs, nuts, or unsweetened Greek yogurt. Sweeten naturally with cinnamon, berries, or a touch of raw honey. Check food labels. If sugar or syrup is one of the first 3 ingredients, it's likely doing more harm than good. And stay hydrated. Dehydration plus sugar is a recipe for muscle cramping and fatigue. Here's the truth. Processed sugar is not just bad for your teeth or your weight. It is a silent thief of your strength, mobility, and independence. The good news, you can take control, starting right now, one meal at a time. Now let's talk about another silent destroyer of leg strength that's hiding in plain sight, fried and fast foods. You might be thinking, come on, Doc, a little fried chicken or a burger now and then can't be that bad, right? Well, what if I told you that each crispy bite could be fueling inflammation that eats away at your muscles and joints, day by day, bite by bite? Let's break this down. Fried foods are typically cooked in reused, highly processed oils. These oils, especially when heated repeatedly, form trans fats and free radicals, which wreak havoc inside your body. Trans fats have been proven to trigger chronic inflammation, reduce blood circulation, and impair your muscles' ability to repair themselves. When your body is inflamed, your joints become stiff, your muscles receive less oxygen, your legs feel heavier, and slowly, without pain at first, you begin losing mobility. This isn't just theory. A study from Harvard School of Public Health found that a diet high in fried foods increases the risk of sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength. Let me tell you about Mrs. Evelyn, a 72-year-old client of mine. She used to grab fast food 3 or 4 times a week. Fried chicken, fries, maybe a breakfast sandwich. She said it was convenient and cheap. But she noticed her knees started to ache more, and climbing stairs became difficult. When she came to me, we tested her inflammatory markers. They were high. After just 6 weeks of reducing fried food and adding anti-inflammatory alternatives like baked salmon, olive oil, and greens, she told me, "Doctor, I feel 10 years younger." Now don't worry, you don't have to give up flavor or crunch. Here's what you can do. Use an air fryer to get that satisfying crisp without soaking your food in oil. Cook with olive oil or avocado oil, which contain heart-healthy fats that reduce inflammation rather than causing it. Swap fries for baked sweet potato wedges, or try roasted chickpeas or spiced almonds as crunchy snacks. Also, avoid eating out at places where the oil may be reused multiple times. That oil turns into what we call oxidative sludge, a cocktail of toxins that accelerate aging, weaken your bones, and destroy muscle tissue. It's time to think of your food as medicine or as poison. Every meal is an opportunity. You can either feed inflammation and weakness or nourish strength and mobility. You don't have to be perfect, but even small shifts in your cooking methods can make a major difference in how your legs feel. Remember, your legs are your freedom. Don't trade years of strength for a few minutes of flavor. Let's move on to a category of food that often hides behind the illusion of convenience and protein: processed meats, deli meats, sausages, hot dogs, bacon. These are pantry staples for millions of people, especially when cooking for one or grabbing something quick. But here's what you may not know. These foods are eroding your leg strength day by day. You see, most processed meats are loaded with sodium, preservatives, and nitrates, ingredients designed to extend shelf life and enhance flavor. But inside your body, they tell a different story. Let's talk science for a moment. High sodium levels in processed meats cause your body to retain water and constrict blood vessels. That means less blood flow to your muscles, less oxygen, less nutrient delivery. The result? Your muscles feel tired, heavy, and slower to recover. Over time, this chronic restriction contributes to weaker legs, poor endurance, and even nerve sensitivity. Now combine that with nitrates, preservatives added to most deli meats. These compounds create nitrosamines during digestion, which research from the Cleveland Clinic and Harvard Health links to increased inflammation and nerve damage. Yes, nerve damage. That tingling in your legs after eating salty meats, that may not be random. It could be a signal. I'll share with you the story of George, a retired postal worker, 74 years old. He came to me complaining of numbness in his legs and occasional cramping. His diet? Mostly cold cuts, canned soups, and the occasional hot dog. After some blood work and a dietary review, I advised cutting processed meats and switching to lean, unprocessed protein. Within 6 weeks, he reported better energy, less leg fatigue, and more stability on stairs. Now, what should you do instead? Replace processed meats with fresh options: grilled chicken, turkey breast, salmon, or even lentils and tofu if you prefer plant-based proteins. Look for nitrate-free labels if you occasionally want deli meats, but consume them in moderation. For sandwiches, try shredded chicken or tuna salad made with olive oil instead of mayo and bacon. Also remember, excess sodium doesn't just affect your muscles, it leaches calcium from your bones, leading to weaker joints and a higher risk of falls and fractures. According to Mayo Clinic, long-term consumption of high-sodium diets is a major contributor to osteoporosis in seniors. So, the next time you're tempted to grab a pack of ham or pop a sausage in the microwave, pause. Ask yourself, is this protein source helping me build strength or slowly breaking it down? Because every bite matters. Every meal is a fork in the road. One path leads to independence, the other toward immobility. Let's choose wisely. Now let's talk about something that's likely sitting in your pantry right now. High-sodium foods. Even if you've managed to avoid processed meats, you might still be consuming dangerous levels of sodium without realizing it. I'm talking about canned soups, instant noodles, frozen meals, sauces, salad dressings, snack foods, and even store-bought bread. These everyday items are silently draining the strength from your legs. Here's how it works. When you eat foods high in sodium, your body retains water to balance out the salt. This leads to bloating, but inside, a more dangerous process is happening. The blood vessels constrict, reducing circulation, and as a result, your leg muscles receive less oxygen and fewer nutrients. This means your muscles start to feel sluggish, tight, and more prone to cramping. You might notice swelling around the ankles after a salty meal. That's not just water weight. It's a sign your legs are under stress. Excess sodium also interferes with calcium absorption, weakening your bones. Over time, this increases the risk of osteopenia, osteoporosis, and fractures from minor falls. According to Harvard Health, high salt intake is directly linked to poor bone mineral density in older adults. Let me share a case from my own practice. Martha, 68, was having trouble with frequent leg cramps at night and low energy during her morning walks. She wasn't eating junk food, at least not what she thought. But when we reviewed her diet, we discovered she was eating healthy frozen meals and store-bought soups daily. These healthy options were loaded with 1-800 milligrams of sodium per serving. I asked her to switch to low-sodium versions, cook more meals at home using fresh ingredients, and increase her potassium intake with foods like bananas and spinach. Within 2 weeks, her cramps decreased. Within a month, she felt more energized and less swollen. Small change, big impact. So what can you do? Read nutrition labels carefully. You'll be surprised how much sodium is hidden in bread, cereals, and sauces. Keep sodium intake below 2,300 milligrams per day, or under 1/500 millimoles if you have hypertension, as recommended by the American Heart Association. Cook at home more often. Use fresh herbs, lemon juice, garlic, and spices instead of salt. Choose sea salt or Himalayan salt in moderation, and avoid regular table salt. Include potassium-rich foods like avocados, leafy greens, beans, and sweet potatoes to help balance sodium. And don't forget one critical piece: hydration. Drinking enough water helps your kidneys flush out excess sodium and reduces the burden on your muscles and joints. According to Mayo Clinic, staying hydrated is one of the easiest ways to reduce the symptoms of high sodium intake. So the next time you're about to open that can of soup or heat up a frozen dinner, take a moment to check the label. Ask yourself, is this helping my legs stay strong and mobile, or quietly robbing me of strength I need to stay independent? Your legs carry you through life. Let's not weigh them down with salt. Let's talk about something that seems harmless: white bread, pasta, and other refined carbohydrates. You've likely been told for decades that carbohydrates are the body's primary source of energy. And that's true. But not all carbs are created equal, and the wrong ones can be quietly robbing your leg muscles of their strength. What are refined carbohydrates? These are grains that have been stripped of their fiber, vitamins, and minerals during processing. What's left is a fast-digesting carb that spikes your blood sugar, then crashes it, leaving your muscles starved for steady fuel. Think white bread, regular pasta, pastries, many breakfast cereals, and even crackers. Here's what happens inside your body. After consuming refined carbs, your blood sugar skyrockets. In response, insulin is released to help bring those levels down. But this roller coaster ride creates a problem. According to Harvard Health, repeated blood sugar spikes followed by rapid crashes can increase inflammation, cause insulin resistance, and ultimately weaken muscle recovery and function. Over time, this cycle causes more harm: muscle fatigue, joint pain, fat accumulation, loss of lean muscle mass. You might feel a burst of energy after that white sandwich or pasta lunch, but that energy fades fast. You crash, your legs feel heavy, slow, and even tremble during simple tasks like walking upstairs. Let me introduce you to George, a 72-year-old retired teacher who came to me complaining of chronic leg weakness and afternoon fatigue. After assessing his diet, it was clear he ate mostly refined carbs: toast for breakfast, white rice with lunch, and crackers as snacks. I recommended he gradually swap those out for whole grains, high-fiber vegetables, and lean protein. Within just 3 weeks, he reported feeling more energized, and for the first time in months, he completed a 30-minute walk without needing to sit down midway. By the 2-month mark, he had also lost belly fat and reported better sleep. His only regret? I wish I'd known sooner. So what can you do? Replace white bread with whole grain or sprouted bread. Choose quinoa, brown rice, and oats over white rice or refined pasta. Add vegetables high in fiber like broccoli, carrots, and leafy greens to every meal. Pair your carbs with protein and healthy fats. This slows digestion and stabilizes energy. Eggs, legumes, fish, and olive oil are perfect companions. Avoid ultra-processed snack foods. If you need a quick bite, try a boiled egg with veggies, a handful of almonds, or Greek yogurt with berries. And remember, your body isn't asking you to give up carbs. It's asking you to fuel it wisely. Refined carbs are convenient. But convenience should never come at the cost of your strength, your balance, or your independence. So the next time you reach for that white bread sandwich, ask yourself, is this feeding my muscles or fading them? Now that you know the 5 foods silently weakening your leg strength: processed sugar, fried foods, processed meats, high sodium, and refined carbohydrates, it's time for an honest conversation. If you're like most people, you've probably eaten these foods for years, maybe even decades. You might think, well, I've already done the damage, Chi. What's the point in changing now? But let me tell you something, not as a doctor, but as someone who has watched hundreds of patients turn their lives around at 65, 75, even 85. It is never too late to make a change. The human body is incredibly resilient. The moment you stop feeding it what breaks it down and start nourishing it with what builds it up, it begins to repair. Muscles grow back, joints feel looser, balance improves, and energy, the kind you thought you lost forever, starts returning. Let me share one more story. Margaret, 78, had trouble walking across her living room without holding onto furniture. She'd been eating frozen meals, white bread, and sugary snacks for years. Her legs felt like jelly. After watching a video like this, she made a small change. She swapped sugary cereal for oatmeal with berries, added leafy greens to her lunch, and stopped buying processed meats. 3 months later, she came to see me with tears in her eyes. I danced with my grandson at his wedding, she said, and I didn't need to sit down halfway through the song. That's the power of food. It's not just calories, it's medicine or poison. You have a choice. Keep eating the foods that silently steal your strength, or embrace the ones that rebuild it, one bite at a time. So here's your challenge. Look at your next meal. Ask yourself, is this helping my legs carry me longer, stronger, or making every step harder? And then make one small change today, just one. Swap the soda for water. Choose whole grain bread. Toss the processed snacks because your legs deserve it. Your independence deserves it. You deserve it. And if this video helped you understand your body better, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We've got more practical, evidence-based tips coming your way. Let's grow stronger together, one step at a time.